some brief information about throwing strikes, straights and hooks in a retreating position. What do I mean by that? Well, for whatever reason, I'm trying to get out of range, but I have the moment and I can throw a strike, even though I'm going backwards. I'm leaving, boom, and I still want to cause some damage, even though I'm having to move at the exact same time as I throw the strike. Now, the difference in doing this between a hook and a straight is very, very different, okay? All right, so I will often, if we have a class, I'll put up a pad and I'll say, I want you to just start this and do it on your own. Move backwards and throw a strike. And it's always, sometimes not even hitting the target at all. I step back and literally it's like 50-50. Well, however far I go back, that's how far I go forward, and therefore the end result is 0. And when I try to throw a hook, it seems almost as bad where, or this, one way or the other, okay? So it doesn't feel like there's any power in it whatsoever. All right, let's go back to how power is created with, let's start with hooks, okay? It's not about the swing, right? It's about the transfer of weight. Well, the hook is probably easier than the straight in that regard, because as I go back here, I can still rotate my hips and shoulders, and I can even transfer weight. So obviously my range is going to be affected by this, but my power, if I work on this, it's not as difficult, okay? So I'm gonna start really close to the target, since Bob will not advance towards me. So I'm here, I'm gonna be stepping back, but what I'm imagining is that as I step back, he is also stepping towards me, and I'm gonna be throwing the strike, all right? So I'm here, okay? Now, one thing you saw is that the extension of my arm is very unlikely that I'm gonna be close enough for the coffee cup style, which is about, for me, is about right here, right? So more than likely, I've adjusted my striking surface to either be the knuckles out here, or I just simply like what's referred to as the mouth of hand, the opposite side of a hammer fist. This right here, boom, into the jaw. All right, hip and shoulder still rotating, weight still transferring from this side to that side. The bottom line is I'm just moving them. So I'm in here. Notice that my shoulders turn. If there's a big tendency here to just simply swing. See how my shoulders are still square? Just no power in that though. I have to let it go and really rotate my body into it. So that's throwing a hook in a retreat. Throwing a straight punch in a retreat is a little bit of an art. It takes some time because we rely so much on kinetic energy. Even if the kinetic energy is just simply a little bit of friction of having something, having a place for the ball of the foot to rotate off of, okay? So I don't have that. I'm stepping back with this foot here. It feels very weak to throw a punch there. So I have a couple of choices. One is I can wait until my foot plants to throw the strike. Okay. I'd like to throw it here, but there's just nothing on it. Boom! As soon as the ball of the foot connects, I'm gonna throw a big rotation. Okay, and I say rotation because that is something that we drill a lot of. Is the idea of moving back and then throwing that strike. It will tend to just simply be the arm. You have to work on it to make sure that once that thing plants, you drive that hip and shoulder forward as you should. All right, so that's one option, is just simply to wait and then you drive the strike back in. The second one, which takes a little bit more work, is to work very similar to a Superman punch, if you've ever seen that in MMA, where they go, boom, and they throw a strike by driving the hip, by chambering this back, chambering this forward, and then exchanging the two and using that energy to drive the strike. So that's kind of what we have to do. As I go back, I'm going to drive this forward as I stomp the foot. I don't mean stomp it to the ground. That stops the energy there from just going down. But as I drive it back, so it's kind of like this little horse kick back here, as this, the shoulder and the hip change places. An easy way to start practicing that is this. Go ahead and bring this back a little bit, and I'm gonna bring the knee up and then stomp, but stomp towards the rear, okay? As I throw this strike. You feel free to hold on to something else because you're doing it a little bit slower. Okay, then you add to that, prior to doing that, the step backwards. Oh my gosh, here I go. I'm having to go backwards. Boom. Boom. Okay, so it's the hip and the shoulder changing places, driving this straight forward. Don't worry about making this into some fancy twisted all weapon. Just keep it right there, right straight down the middle, okay? All right, so to drill that a couple of times, I'm here, I'm having to step back. This.